This conference will now be recorded.
Okay,
This conference will now be recorded.
okay. Let's start. Hope it's audible to everyone. Yeah, can anyone reply? Is it audible to everyone? Okay, fine. Thank you. Right, so let's start. So yesterday we understood that SAP is an ERP product, and we have seen the meaning of what ERP, and we discussed the different modules in SAP, and we understood that ABAP is a technical module in what SAP. ABAP is a programming language of what SAP. What are the development activity that we do in SAP is carried out throughout ABAP only. Okay, right. Now let us see what are the different types of objects an ABAP consultant is going to develop. Okay, so as an ABAP consultant, whatever we develop, we call them as what objects. Okay, so whatever we develop, we call them as what objects, even though they are nothing but programs, but we call it as what objects. Okay, so as an ABAP consultant, we are responsible for doing what rise of development. Okay, rise of development, that is, I'm having throat pain, so just bear with my voice. Right, so rise of development means rise. R stands for reports, then we have what interfaces, then we have conversions, then we have enhancements, then we have what forms. Okay, so these are the different types of objects that we develop as an ABAP consultant. Let us understand one by one. Okay, so if you observe here, this is ABAP object development, right? So first thing is what reports. Okay, so what is the general meaning of a report? Okay, forget about SAP. The general meaning of report is what? It is nothing but what summary of data. Okay, it's a summary of data based on which we can do some analysis. Okay, it is a summary of data based on which we can do the analysis. Okay, so to understand that more clearly, see here. Yeah, see this. This is a meaning of a report. Okay, so what we will do is we will write an ABAP program. Try to understand. We will write an ABAP program. How to write that program we don't know, so just leave it. So we'll write one ABAP program, nothing but called as what report. Whenever I execute this report, okay, whenever I execute my program, what should happen? A request should be sent to what? Database. So SAP also requires what? A database for storing the data. Yesterday we understood that a database is nothing but what? It is a place where we store the data permanently in the form of what? Rows and what? Columns. Okay. So we are going to what? Send the request to the database. This database contains what? Different database tables. Okay, so we may send the request by using what? Select statement to retrieve the data from one or more database tables. Okay, whatever the data we retrieve from these database tables, this data, nothing but response, will come and sit in something called as what? Internal table. So as part of your ABAP program, we will be creating something called as what? Internal table. So the retrieved data will come and sit in the internal table. So the difference between database table and internal table is database table will be created in the database server where we can store the data permanently, whereas internal table will be created during the program execution. Okay, internal table will be created during the program execution, and it will be created in what? Application server. Application server means it is a place where the entire processing will take place. It is a place where the entire calculation will take place. It is a place where the entire business logic gets executed. Okay, so this ABAP report on execution will create an internal table. What is the job of this internal table? It has to store the data retrieved from your database table. So once the data is stored in the internal table, we are going to process this data, in the sense we are going to delete unnecessary data, or if required we'll modify the data, or we'll delete the unnecessary data, or we'll do some sort of sorting in ascending order, descending order. We'll do some calculations. All the operations we'll do on what? Internal table data. So once the internal table is processed, okay, once the internal table processed, this processed data we need to display it to the user in the form of what? Report. So that the customer is going to analyze this particular report. Based on the analysis, he can take some business related decisions. Business related decisions. This is the meaning of what? Report. So in ABAP, we can develop different types of reports. Okay, we can basically categorize into two types. We can develop classical reports and ALV reports. Classical reports will be covered in our basic ABAP, and ALV reports requires knowledge of what? Object oriented, and it will be covered as part of what? Object oriented ABAP module. Okay, so this is the meaning of a report. Any questions on this? Please ask me. Yeah, fine. So if there are no questions, okay. Now, what is the other type of development we'll do? Next comes is what? Interfaces. Interfaces. So as part of interfaces, we should know how to work with what? RFCs, ALE IDOCs, and what? BAPIs. Okay, RFCs, ALE IDOCs, and what? BAPIs. So as the name itself suggests, interfaces means what? A kind of mediator. Kind of what? Mediator. Again, to understand the meaning of interface, see here. Yeah. So if you observe this, yeah. So interface means something like this. Assume that we have a customer called as Ready Labs. Okay, we have a customer called as Ready Labs. He is running his business on what? SAP software. So he'll be using what? His own SAP server. And there is another customer called as Matrix. Okay, Matrix. This customer also is running his business on what? SAP system only. Then there is another customer called as Ranbaxy. Okay, assume that this customer is running his business on what? Non-SAP system. So when I say non-SAP system, it can be Java platform, .NET platform, or it can be any other what? Non-SAP system. Okay, now assume that all these three customers are what? Business partners. Okay, all these three customers are business partners. So since they are business partners, okay, they need to exchange the data between their systems on a periodic basis. Okay, they need to exchange the data between their systems on a periodic basis. Okay, so here if you observe this, so assume that a customer is placing an order with what? Ready Labs. So Ready Labs is a pharmaceutical company. So assume that customer has placed an order. Okay, customer has placed an order with what? Ready Labs. Okay, so he is placing the order. So in the Ready Labs is running their business on what? SAP system now. So you will have one program called as what? Something called a selection program. Okay, forget about that, or we call it as outbound program. Selection program or outbound program. What this program will do? Okay, this program will read the order data. Okay, we'll read the order data. Whatever the order details are there, okay, it has to store that particular order details inside something called as what? IDOC. Means this selection program, whenever I execute my selection program, it has to generate what? IDOC. IDOC stands for what? Intermediate document. What this IDOC contains, it contains what? Order data. Whatever the order details are there, that order details I'll store inside what? IDOC. IDOC is what? It's a container which can hold the data. IDOC is a container of data which can be transmitted, between what? Two systems. So what this IDOC has to be done now? This IDOC data should be distributed toward one of the partner system. Which partner here? Matrix. Okay, Matrix is also running their business on what? SAP system. So this IDOC, okay, this IDOC data will be sent to what? Receiver system, nothing but the partner. In the receiving system, you will have one program called as what? Posting program, or we call it as what? Inbound program. We'll see all these things practically when we come to the topics. So what this posting program will do, it will read the incoming IDOC data. Whatever the data is there in the IDOC, it is going to read that particular data. Okay, and that data will be stored what? In their own database. Okay, this IDOC data will be stored in their own database. Okay, every server will have what? Their own database. Okay, so initially Reddy Labs, whatever the order details are there, they are stored in the Reddy Labs database. Okay, this selection program will read the data from the Reddy Labs database and generates the IDOC, stores the order details in the IDOC, and this IDOC will be distributed to the partner system. In the partner system, you will have one program called as posting program or inbound program, which is responsible for reading the incoming IDOC data and store that particular IDOC data in the receiver database. Okay, this is one scenario. Another scenario is what? This IDOC data should be distributed toward another business partner. Who is a business partner? Ranbaxy. Okay, but they are not running their business on the SAP system. They are running their business on what? Non-SAP systems. So these non-SAP systems cannot understand the IDOC format. IDOC is what? Proprietary format of what? SAP. Only SAP systems can understand what? IDOC format. So since my receiver system is non-SAP system, what we are going to do is this IDOC will be sent towards some third-party tools, some third-party softwares. We have many third-party softwares, EDI, TIPCO, web methods, and SAP has provided their own tool called as what? XI. Okay, exchange infrastructure process. Earlier we used to call it as XI, now it is what? PI, process integration. Okay, so we need to send the IDOC data to what? These tools. What this tool will do, it will convert the IDOC format to what? XML format. Why only to XML format? XML is the universal accepted language. Any software can understand the XML format. So this XML data would be sent to what? Non-SAP system, which will read that data and stores that data in what? Their own database. So if the receiver is the SAP system, directly we can send the IDOC to what? The receiver system. If the receiver system is non-SAP system, this IDOC format should be converted to what? XML format. That is done by what? Some other softwares. And this XML format data will be distributed to what? Receiver system. So this is nothing but what? One of the example for what? Interface. Interface is not mediator. What is a mediator here? IDOC. Okay, we need to generate the IDOC, store the data in the IDOC, distribute the data to the IDOC, distribute the IDOC to the receiver system, and the receiver system should read that IDOC data and store the data in the respective database. So these kind of interfaces we need to develop. So that interfaces will be covered as part of what? Cross applications. As I told you yesterday, advanced ABAP, nothing but what? Cross applications and object oriented. So we'll be covering this in the cross applications thing. Hope it's clear. Any questions? Done. So if there are no questions, fine. Right, so this is interfaces. Next we have what? Conversions. Okay, so under conversions we have BDCs and what? LSMW. So let us understand the meaning of what? Conversions. So a very simple example. See, try to understand this. Assume that we have a customer called as Reliance. Okay, so assume that Reliance has started their business operations in 1970. Okay, and from 1970 to 2016, assume that they are running their business. They are okay. Whatever the data they have captured in all these 46 years, or understood, what are the data they have captured in all this 46 years, okay, that data is stored in what, some legacy system. Assume that the data is stored in what, some text file or what, Excel file. Okay, now in 2016, this Reliance company, Reliance customer, has decided to migrate their business to what, SAP system. Okay, they want to implement what, SAP. Okay, they want to run their business on what, SAP system. So we need to implement what, SAP. So when you are implementing SAP for the customer for the first time, when you're implementing SAP for the customer, any customer for the first time, okay, we need to understand whether that customer contains any legacy data, any old data. So in this case, where is that old data is available? In some text file or what, Excel file. So what I need to do now, I need to write some ABAP program. I need to write some BDC programs. What this BDC program will do, it will read the data from this legacy system, that is text file or Excel file, and we need to store that data in the SAP database. SAP contains what, its own database. We need to store the data in what, SAP database tables. Am I clear? So this is conversions, these BDC programs will generally use in the first time in the implementation projects. When you are implementing SAP for the first time to any customer, we need to check with the customer whether it contains any legacy data, old data. That old data might be stored in what, some system. So we need to write some ABAP programs to read the data from that particular text file or Excel file and migrate that data. If required, in between we need to do some conversions which are compatible to my target system. Okay, so we need to read the data from this Excel file or Excel file, do some sort of conversions if required. Conversions in the sense, uh, the corresponding data types, we need to convert them to what, matching data types. Okay, so after doing the conversions, we need to migrate the data to what, new system. What is the new system here? SAP system. So this conversion means nothing but BDC and what, LSMW. Okay, so the difference between interfaces and conversions is, interface is a continuous process. It's a continuous process. On a periodic basis, on a periodic basis, we'll be exchanging the data between what, two SAP systems, or between SAP and what, non-SAP system, in the form of what, IDOC. But whereas here, if you are doing a fresh implementation for any customer, okay, so the customer will contain what, legacy data. That legacy data should be migrated to what, SAP system. Okay, so this is one time job, I can say, whereas interface is what, it's a periodic basis. Any questions? Done. Okay, right. Next, yeah, as an ABAP consultant, we are involved in doing what, enhancements. Enhancements. Okay, under enhancements. So if you see these conversions here, BDC will be discussing in the basic ABAP, and when you come to LSNW, we have different techniques. Okay, some techniques will be discussed in core ABAP, and some techniques in what, cross applications. Okay, then enhancement. So under enhancements, we have customer exits, baddies, and what, enhancement framework. So let us understand the meaning of what, enhancements. Yeah, see here, very simple. Yeah, assume that in SAP already we have one built-in transaction. SAP contains what, predefined transaction. So assume that in SAP we have one standard transaction. Okay, in that transaction we have one screen. Assume that Transaction nothing but what? Collection of what? One or more screens where you'll perform some business operation. Transaction nothing but what? Collection of what? One or more screens where you perform what? Some business operation. Like withdrawing an amount from ATM is nothing but what? Transaction. So for withdrawing the amount from ATM, you need to navigate between what? Multiple screens. Similarly, a transaction might contain either one screen or multiple screens. So assume that SAP has got what? Hundreds and thousands of what? Predefined transactions. Okay. So so in that particular one of the standard transaction, assume that we have one screen. Okay, who has given this transaction? By SAP itself. And this screen contains how many fields? It contains some three fields. Now assume that you are working for some company Wipro. Try to understand, you are working for some company Wipro is implementing SAP for a customer called as what? Tata. Okay, so according to Tata business requirement, I need to use this particular standard transaction which is given by SAP, and in that transaction I need to use this screen. But this screen contains how many fields? Three fields only. SAP has provided only three fields. But according to Tata business requirement, Tata will say that in that particular screen I need to capture some additional information. So to capture that additional information, I require what? Some additional fields. Okay, so what I have to do in this existing transaction which is given by SAP, I need to plug some additional fields. Why we are plugging additional fields? In order to capture some additional data which is specific to what? My customer. So these two additional fields are specific to what? Tata. SAP cannot predict the business requirements of each and every customer worldwide. So they'll give a generalized transaction. According to our customer requirement, we need to enhance that particular transaction. And assume that the same Wipro is implementing SAP for a customer called as Reliance. Okay, Reliance also wants to use the same screen, but this screen contains only what? Three fields. But according to Reliance business requirement, they want some three additional fields. So I need to add some additional fields in the existing what? Transaction. So again, these three fields are specific to what? Reliance. So this concept is nothing but called as what? Enhancement. Enhancement means plugging additional functionality without disturbing the current functionality. That is the meaning of what? Enhancement. So these enhancements we will do by using what? Customer exits, baddies, enhancement framework, all those things. Okay, hope it's clear to everyone. So again here, enhancement means don't think that it is always adding additional fields. I may add additional fields, or I may add some additional menu items. Assume that this is one of the menu which is available in SAP. Okay, suppose here in this menu these are the menu items. According to my customer requirement, I want one additional menu item. I want one additional menu item. So I should be able to add what? Additional menu item. That also comes under what? Enhancement. Or in the existing fields only. How many fields SAP has given? Three fields. In the existing standard fields only, I need to impose, I need to plug some additional validations. Additional validations. So all these things comes under what? Enhancements only, which can be done through customer exits, baddies, and what? Enhancement framework. Any questions? Please ask. Done. So if there are no questions, fine. Yeah. Now next is, yeah. So as an ABAP consultant, we are also responsible for developing what? Forms. Yeah, please mute your speakers. Yeah, fine. So here, as an ABAP consultant, we are responsible for what? Development of what? Forms. Let us understand the meaning of what? Forms. Okay. Suppose, see here. Forms means you take any business, every business contains what? Some business documents. Every business contains what? Business documents. Like suppose if you take our training institute only, for example. Okay, so related to training institute. Okay, what are the business document we'll be using? Inquiry form. Okay, when you come for inquiry, you need to fill the inquiry form. Done. What else? We need to give you the course contents. Okay, course content, this is another business document. Then what? A receipt. Okay, like this every business will contains what? Some business documents. Or yesterday I told you the example of laptop. What are the business documents? Exchange there, inquiry document, purchase order document, sales order document, invoice document, billing schedule document, delivery schedule document. Like that every business will contain what? Different documents. Or if you take this example only, if you take this example only, suppose Wipro is implementing SAP for what? Tata. So for Wipro, who is the customer? Tata is the customer, and Tata will contain what? Lakhs of customers, no? Lakhs of customers. Okay, so every month Tata has to distribute the telephone bills to their customers. Okay, so all the customers will have the bill in the same format, na? But the data in that would be different, but the template of that bill will be what? Same. The look and feel, the logo, the address section, everything would be what? Same. All customers will receive the bill in the same format, but the data will be what? Different. So that is nothing but called as a form. So as an ABAP consultant, we are responsible for what? Designing the forms. Designing the forms. Or you are responsible for what? Enhancing the existing form. So when you purchase SAP software, if a customer purchases an SAP software, SAP itself will contain some predefined forms, business documents. We need to do the necessary changes according to our customer requirement. Or if the business document is not available in SAP, I need to develop a new template for the new business document. So all those things are done by using what? The scripts, smart forms, and what? Adobe Forms. So I think it's there here. Let me open. Yeah. So see this something like this. Suppose assume that, yeah. So we have one business document. We have one business document which is already available in SAP. What is this business document contains? It contains one window which will hold the customer address. Here it will hold standard window, means this window is given by whom? SAP itself. Okay, bill details, copyrights, scanned signature. Okay, like this template contains how many windows here? Five windows. Each window will show what? Some data. Now according to my customer requirement, who is the customer here? Tata. According to this customer requirement, we need to plug one additional window which has to show the Tata logo. Every customer will have its own what? Logo. So I need to what? Embed this logo in this particular business document. Okay, SAP has given this template already which contains some five windows. I need to plug one additional window to incorporate, to embed what? The customer specific logo. Okay, so this is nothing but what? We are enhancing the existing business document. Or sometimes we might be responsible for developing a new business document. All these forms are designed or modified by using what? SAP scripts, smart forms, and what? Adobe forms. So these are the different development activities a web consultant will carry out in the real time, whether you are 1 year experience or 10 years experience. Any questions on all these things, please let me know. Right, so hope it's clear. Jason, Latika, Nilima, Chinna, Ram, Srikant. Classroom. So, in the interview perspective, okay, so what are the developments you have done as part of your role? Means you have to say like this: we are responsible for developing reports, developing interfaces, all those things. Means when you're projecting that you worked on rise up, means we are expected to know all these topics. So all these topics are part of what? Basic ABAP, object oriented ABAP, and what? Cross applications. Okay, done. Okay, so we understood the rise of development activity, and we know that ABAP is a programming language. Okay, ABAP stands for what? Advanced Business Application Programming. Advanced Business Application Programming. Okay, so since this ABAP is a programming language, it's a programming language for SAP. Okay, it's a programming language for SAP. Every programming language will have what certain rules. So what you will do in the ABAP, we are going to develop what programs, nothing but what objects. So when you are developing that programs, okay, we need to follow certain instructions. Okay, or I can say like this: every programming language, C plus Java, .NET, ABAP, will contain their own what rules. Okay, as a programmer, as a developer, we need to know that rules, and accordingly we need to develop the code. So similarly, whenever you are developing the ABAP programs, I mean to say objects, okay, as part of that ABAP programs, we need to follow certain rules. For example, I believe everyone knows, if you take C plus Java, every statement you will end with what? Semicolon. Suppose if you declare an integer variable, you will give what? Semicolon. Understood? Okay, if I use any printf for displaying, okay, so every statement you have to end with what? Semicolon. In C++ and Java, every statement you have to end with semicolon, which indicates what? It is the end of the statement. Similarly, if you take Java, okay, Java statements are case sensitive. Java statements are case sensitive. Suppose in Java we have what a method called as what? System.out.println. Okay, so system, you have to S, you have to write in uppercase, out println. Okay, so something like this. Is it clear? So here in the system, S should be in what? Uppercase. If you give it in lowercase, it will give what? Error. Because in ABAP, sorry, in a Java, all the system is a class. All the class names must start with what? Uppercase. All the class names must start with uppercase. Okay, similarly, in Java only, we have a method called as action perform. Okay, so here, if the method is a combination of more than one word, if a method is a combination of more than one word, starting word, starting character should be in lowercase, and the second word, starting character should be not uppercase. So if I give in lowercase, if I give in lowercase, again it will give me what? Error. Okay, so you have to give it in what? Uppercase. This is the rule you have to follow. In Java, if a method is a combination of multiple words, okay, the starting word, starting character should be in lowercase, and the rest of the words, starting character should be in what? Uppercase. So what I'm trying to say is, every programming language will have its own set of instructions, rules. So blindly we will not develop the programs. We need to follow that rules, we need to understand that rules and develop the program. Similarly, since ABAP is also a programming language, it also contains what? Some instructions. Okay, so we need to follow that particular instruction. So let us see what are the programming rules that we need to follow when you are developing the what? ABAP programs. So one second. Yeah, see this. These are the ABAP programming rules. Right? What is this? Every statement must end with what? Dot. Period. Okay. In C++, Java, we will end with what? Semicolon. Semicolon. Okay. Semicolon. But whereas here we have to end with what? Dot in ABAP. Okay. Done. Then ABAP statements, or we call it as keywords, they are not case sensitive. Just how I told, in Java, the Java statements are case sensitive. Means if I need to write in uppercase, I must write in uppercase only. If I have to write in lowercase, I should write in lowercase. But whereas here in ABAP, for example, we have a statement, we have a keyword called as write statement. Just like in C language, we have printf for displaying anything. In ABAP also, we have something called as what? Write statement. I can write this in lowercase, I can write this in uppercase, or I can write it as a combination of what? Lowercase and what? Uppercase. So I can write it in any format because it is not case sensitive. ABAP keywords are not case sensitive. Okay, done. Then ABAP is what? Space sensitive. Space sensitive means, suppose if you take our C plus Java, I want to write something like this, z equal to x plus y. This is very much valid in case of what? C plus Java. In ABAP, if I write like this, z equal to x plus y, every statement you have to end with what? Period. Na? So if I write like this is invalid, because in ABAP, each variable and operator must be separated with a minimum of what? One space. Okay, so this is invalid. So we have to separate with what? Minimum of what? One space. At the end you need not give any space, but in between we have to maintain minimum one space between the variables and what? Operators. That's what I am trying to say here. Okay, if you write z equal to x plus y, it is invalid. We have to maintain what? Minimum one space. This is valid. Okay, similarly, in ABAP, strings are enclosed in what? Single quotes. Strings, first of all, what is a string? Group of characters, collection of characters is called as what? String. Suppose I want to write gens of technologies. Okay, I want to write gens of technologies. Okay, this is nothing but a string. Na? Anything which is a collection of more than one character is called as what? String. So if you take C plus Java, we'll enclose it in what? Double quotes. In those programming languages, strings are enclosed in double quotes. But whereas in ABAP, they must be enclosed in what? Single quotes. Okay? They must be enclosed in single quotes. Okay, so that's in the one of the rule which we need to do. Example, I want to write welcome to ABAP. So you'll open the single quotes, you'll write the string and close the single quotes. Strings, group of characters, collection of characters. Okay, done. And in every programming language, when you're writing the programs, you have to comment. You have to what? Go for what? Commenting. Okay, means almost for every line we have to maintain what? Comments. Try to understand. Almost for every line we have to maintain what? Comments. Okay, comments means they are not executable. They are only for what? Documentation purpose. Means in future, if some other consultant has to modify your program, that by looking at the comments which we maintained earlier, he can understand the purpose of that particular statement, or he will get some information related to that particular statement. So always good programming practices, you need to maintain the comment. So in ABAP also, when you are writing 10 lines program or 100 lines program, 1000 lines program, you need to we should try to maintain comments for almost for what? Every line. Almost for every line. So in ABAP also, see here, if you want to maintain a comment, suppose you'll say z equal to what? X plus y. Okay, so I know that this is an addition. Okay, but it is better we need to maintain what? Comment. So how do you write it? After giving period, you have to use double quotes. You have to say what? Addition. Understood? Whatever we write in double quotes, whatever we write, what the content after double quotes, it is considered what? Comment. You need not close this. You need not close this. Just open the double quotes, and if you write it, this is called as what? Comment. Understood? After double quotes, whatever we write, it is considered as comment. It will not be executed. It is only for what? Developer purpose, for documentation purpose, which will explain the information about that particular statement. Okay, so I can use double quotes for commenting. If you want to comment an entire line, okay, at the beginning of the line you have to say what? Star. Any line any line which you start with star, it is considered as what? Comment. Means the entire line will not be executed. So sometimes what happens is, you might have written some code at later point of time in your business. You need to what? Modify your code. So as part of that modification, the statements which are already available, I may require to comment. I may not require that. To implement that new business functionality, I may require to comment the existing codes. How do you comment it? Instead of deleting, we'll comment it, so that in future again if you want to write the same logic, you can just uncomment it. Understood? So we can use star or double quotes. When do we use star? If you want to comment the entire line, we use star at the beginning. If you want to comment from the middle of the line, you have to use what? Double quotes. So whatever you write after double quotes, it is considered as what? Comments. That's what I am trying to say here. Okay. Star or double quotes is used for what? Commenting. Star is used at the beginning of the line to comment the entire line. Double quotes is used in middle of lines to comment the rest of the line. Hope it's clear. And you just forget about that. If you want to comment multiple lines, what you have to say? Select the block of lines and choose control plus so and so symbol. If you know C plus Java, if you want to comment group of lines, okay, you'll write like this. So whatever you enclose between this is considered as what? Comment. Whatever you write in inside this is considered as comment in case of what? C++. Okay. In case of ABAP also, if you want to comment a block of lines, what you have to do? You need to what? Select the block of lines and choose control plus less than symbol, so that at the beginning of the line you'll get star for every line. And to uncomment, again select the block of lines, control plus greater than symbol. Okay. Anyhow, when we start the programming part, I'll be using this thing, you'll understand. So these are the minimum rules that I need to follow whenever we are developing the ABAP code. Any questions? Done. Right. So these are the programming rules. Now, similarly, every programming language will contain what? Data types. Okay, will contain data types. What do you mean by data type? Data type indicates data type indicates what kind of value you want to store in the table. What kind of value you want to store in a variable. Okay, suppose I want to store integers. How do you declare integer variable in case of C plus Java? You'll say what? Int x. So inside this x, I can store what? Some integer value, something like this. This is in case of what? C plus plus and what? Java. Similarly, if you want to store any decimal variables, decimal values, you'll go for what? Float. Okay, so you'll say something y equal to so and so, like this. Okay, if you want to store any character, you'll say something like this. So m equal to, I'll say something what? G. This is for storing single characters. If you want to store group of characters, you'll say something character k of 10. Nothing but what? Array of characters, collection of characters. I can store up to what? 10 characters. So this is C plus, you have to keep it in what? Double quotes. Okay, so here something like this. Okay, so I'm trying to store more than 10 characters. The capacity of this variable is only what? 10. So it will not give any error. It will store only up to what? First 10 characters. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is every programming language will contain what? Data types. Data type indicates what kind of data you can store in a particular variable. Variable is the one which is capable of storing the holding the data. Okay, similarly, since ABAP also is a programming language, ABAP also contains what? Some data types. So let me open that. Yeah, see here, these data types we can classify into what? Different types here. Okay, anyhow, when we start the programming part, we'll understand all this thing, how to work this data type. These data types I can classify into what? Two types. What are they? Fixed data type and what? Variant data type. Again, under fixed data type we have what? Numeric and what? Character. So in C plus Java, how you are declaring a integer? By using a keyword called as int. How you are declaring a float? By using a keyword called as what? Float. In case of ABAP, if you want to declare any variable, either integer variable, character variable, float variable, date or time, whatever it is, irrespective of any kind of data type, we use a keyword what? Data. We use a keyword called as data, some variable name, x type. What kind of data you want to store? Integer. Here I indicates what? Integer. In C plus Java we use what? Int. Similarly, I want to declare a float. I'll say data y type f. F indicates what? Float. I want to declare character, so data z type c. Am I clear? Something like this. Okay. Okay, data m of 10 type C. Again, this is what? Character. Okay, group of characters. Okay, data R type D. D indicates what? Date. Okay, data K type T. T indicates what? Time. So this integer, float, character, date, time, all this comes under what? Data types. Okay, for all the kinds of data type we have to use what keyword? Data keyword. Data keyword is used for what? Declaring the variables in what? ABAP. Declaring the variables in ABAP. That's what I am trying to show you. Okay, so each variable, how much memory to allocate means this is a memory: 4 bytes, 8 bytes, 16 bytes, something like this. Date occupies 8 bytes, time occupies 6 bytes. So all these things we'll be seeing in the next 1 week or so, how to work with this particular data types. Hope it's clear. Any questions? Done. Now similarly, yeah. So as I told you, every programming language will contain some predefined statements, predefined keywords. Suppose if you take our C language, how do we read the input? Scanf. How do you print it? Printf. In C++, we use cout and what? Cin. In Java, we use system.out.println, system.in.read. Similar in ABAP also, there are many statements, but in the next 1 week or 10 days, we are going to understand some basic statements. There are hundreds of keywords, hundreds of statements given by what? SAP. It is not possible to discuss all the things at a time. As and when we require, we will be using that statements, but almost in every requirement, we will be using some basic keywords, basic statements. Okay. For example, if you take the operation input, how do we read the input? In case of C language, we use scanf. In C++, we use what? Cin. In ABAP, we use something called as what? Parameters. To read the user input, we use a keyword, we use a statement called as what? Parameters. Similarly, to display any output, in C language we use printf, in C++ we use cout, in ABAP we use what? Write statement. Okay, so here C++ I'm comparing just to refresh your knowledge. Even if you don't know anything also, just ignore it. Okay, then how do we declare constant fixed values? Constant means fixed values. How do we do it? By using a keyword called as const, both in C and what? C++. In ABAP we use what? Constants is a keyword. Constants is a keyword. Then how do you declare variables in C language? Something like this. Just now we discussed. Int, float, char, something like that. In ABAP, for declaring any kind of data type variable, we use what keyword? Data. Data variable type. I indicates integer, F indicates float, C indicates character, blah blah blah. Okay, so these are the basic statements: parameters, write statement, constants, and data. These four statements, these four keywords, we will be using in almost every requirement. Almost in every requirement, we'll be using this four basic statement. That's why I drafted it separately. But doesn't mean that we have only this four. We have hundreds and thousands of statements. Okay, so all those things we'll be using. It depends on the experience and exposure. Okay, but these are the four keywords which we'll be using in almost in every requirement. Hope it's clear. Any questions? Done. So today we understood what kind of objects an ABAP consultant will develop, nothing but what? Rise of development. And we understood what? The programming rules in ABAP. We understood what are the different data types and what are the basic statements which are available in what? ABAP. Okay, so tomorrow onwards, what we will do is we'll discuss a concept called as transaction codes, T codes related to ABAP, and if possible, if time permits, we'll start the programming part from tomorrow only. Okay, most probably. Right? Any questions for today? Please ask me. done. And I've sent the yesterday's what material to everyone. Hope everyone has received. I'll share this also. So as I told you, recordings also will share, but I'll share it weekly twice. Okay, so I'll try to share today yesterday's recording and today's recording also. We'll see. Done. So I'm winding off. Then if you don't have any questions, we'll continue tomorrow. See this meeting ID na every day I'll be sending between 6:30 to 6:45. Okay, so be ready by 6:30. I can send the meeting ID anytime between 6:30 to 6:45. Okay, so right. So I'm winding up then. If you don't have any questions, chalo then. So I'll wind off. We'll continue tomorrow.